Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, wrestling fans of all ages, welcome to Wrestle Matts, the podcast where passion meets power slams. And every episode is a main event. Join your tag team champions of talk, Matt and Matt, as they grapple with the latest news, hottest debates, and legendary stories from the world of professional wrestling. From the roar of the crowd to the secrets behind the curtain, these two Matts bring the heat and the hard-hitting analysis every wrestling fan craves. So lace up your boots, hit the ropes, and get ready to tag in for a wild ride. This is Wrestle Matts.
Here we are, SummerSlam review. Biggest party of the summer. Matty Riser, Matt Kelly, what's good, buddy?
Whoa, where my dogs at? Oh. SummerSlam, baby. We made it past. It's time to knock this out of the park. Review it for our Wrestle Matt maniacs.
Man, it was what ended up being really 96 hours of wrestling, basically, because you had SmackDown, which turned out to be a pretty fucking important lead-in to SummerSlam, and then you had SummerSlam itself, which each night was, 3.5 hours, 4 hours maybe on Sunday, more if you took in pre-show, obviously, and then a big Monday Night Raw to cap things off. So we have caught our breath a little bit, but we are going to talk all things SummerSlam. One quick housekeeping note, not a real quick count topic tonight, Maddie, but we do want to let the people know that we have kind of formed a little bit of a tag team relationship with the folks at ringsideintel.com. So we're going to be doing some cool things over there, some written content, some video content. We are really just kind of getting our feet underneath us there. So you'll be able to find much, much more Wrestle Matts, including you, Maddie. You got, weekly power rankings coming out here?
Yeah, Maddie's Risers, baby. We're going to be talking a male, female, and an NXT rookie on the rise. Be sure to check that out every Thursday. But, dude, you get plenty of Wrestle Matts in shorts and videos and match reviews. And now you're going to get a piece of us in our writing styles. So I'm pumped to just kind of showcase what we got here at Wrestle Matts and at Ringside Intel.
Yep. Every Tuesday night still. We're not going anywhere right here. Wrestle Matts, Facebook, YouTube, and X every Tuesday night, like I said. And then we'll be hitting some weekly content over there at ringsideintel.com. So be sure to check us out there as well. But Maddie, for SummerSlam, we are just basically going to go with the flow here with the card, and we are going to start with Saturday. So our show is basically going to follow the way that if you joined us last week, we split it up into two parts because there are so many matches and things are so long. What's up, Nick? Good to see you in here tonight, buddy. Appreciate the comment. Thanks so much for the congrats on that as well. We're stoked to be with Ringside Intel, so we're looking forward to that. But yeah, like we did last week, we are going to do a two-parter tonight. So we'll roll through Saturday, and then we'll take about 10 or 15 minutes, refuel the coffee and the water, and then we'll come right back with Sunday night. But, Maddie, let's start, I think, with a topic, a match that has to do with more than just the match, and that's Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross. And there's a lot more to talk about here as there's rumors going on about Karrion Kross's contract as well as Scarlett's contract. And there, if you see it, if you're joining us live here on Facebook, YouTube, or X, then you see that Sami Zayn, of course, won the match this weekend. I think it's a pretty big surprise for you and I. I think the contract talks probably picked up more and more as the weekend went along, and people started to notice that Kross and Scarlett did not have a new deal. So if that's the case, then maybe the outcome makes a little bit more sense. But at the same time, I don't know what Kross and Scarlett did or did not do to do or don't deserve a new contract. You know what I mean? So it's a weird one for me. I didn't come out any more invested in Sami Zayn from this match.
Yeah, to me, it's just weird, man, because he's number one in merch sales, the momentum, he's got like a cult following. And then, we were both kind of stoked going into this, and then the way this feud's kind of blown off, and we really don't see him on Raw. Is it all contracts? Is it kayfabe? What is it? To me, I just left me with more questions than I expected going into this review show.
Yeah, we'll get into more kayfabe as we get to the main event and how that played out. But we're seeing that WWE, especially in this Triple H era, right, is kind of starting to utilize the media, the dirt sheets, things of that nature to twist and turn some narratives. So, does he show up a little bit down the road from a contract dispute? Does he kind of go a little bit rogue on TV somewhere, a la, Ron Killings? Do we get that sort of angle? It's just odd, man, because it really is the first time that I felt like Cross had true momentum on the main roster. Very heavily featured in these backstage segments, very heavily featured with Sami Zayn, who is apparently someone that WWE strongly believes in, and keeps putting himself in the world title picture. So I I don't know, man. Let's take it at face value, right? That Cross
Yeah.
isn't going to be back. Sami Zayn wins. Are you personally invested more in Sami Zayn? Because I still feel like he has been trying to tell the same underdog story for the better part of about 2 years, really.
Yeah, it's just there definitely is a program with him in that underdog role. I see that, but to me, there needed to be more traction to it. And I think if you're not facing a Seth Rollins or a CM Punk in the world title scene, mid card storyline with a guy like Cross, who maybe doesn't have it in the ring, but what he does on the mic, what he does on your television programs is immense. That's a lot of potential and a lot of story arcs that could really have played out if we saw it properly. But to me, I think WWE either gave up on the storyline or they just kind of dropped the ball.
I think there's some disconnect with Sammy trying to still force himself basically into that world title picture a little bit. And he's not like, it feels like he doesn't have other goals other than being a world champion. Not that you necessarily should per se, but at the same time, he doesn't feel like he's anywhere near the main title picture scene right now. I could probably rattle off 10, 15, 20
Right.
other performers, other superstars that are much more in favor or much more closely to being in line, right, for that world title picture than Sami Zayn.
Yeah, it's just weird, man, because you do need a role on this card. You need storylines. And I felt like that with Cross was it. I felt
Yeah.
like we were invested, and I think that was a good way to play, because we have seen Sami Zayn as a heel. We've seen he can go both ways. So to me, I was definitely invested in the character Sami Zayn. Now, am I invested him as just being like a Jey Uso, tag partner? Not as much. We've already seen
Right.
that. So to me, this was fresh. And like I said, there was more left. Kind of just they scraped the plans, or maybe they're playing us, who knows? But yeah, just not the ending I wanted in this match.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm way less invested now if Sami Zayn were to turn heel, because if Cross isn't there, that was like the whole reason, that he was gonna potentially be a heel, and maybe that is why they didn't go with that as the finish of the match. But as for the match itself, Matty, kind of the last note here, what did you think about the match itself?
Kind of just, kind of like what we already knew. We know Sammy can
Sure.
go. Do think if there was one part of Cross's game, we've talked about it. It's his in-ring work. There might be a little disconnect I could see, but I didn't like at the end. I think this is the second match in a row that Sammy went for the exploder suplex, and I don't know if it's just Cross's weight or just athletic ability. It doesn't look good when that happens. So that was kind of my only. And it was
Yeah.
only an 8-minute match. There's not a lot to judge in such a short. I don't feel like there was time, but I definitely, to circle back, I think that Cross has shown enough. He is an asset for WWE. So I don't know if the book's closed, but it seems like this chapter's over for sure.
Yeah, pretty much fully agree with all of that. And let's connect with what you just said, and this being an 8-minute match, to the opening match in Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Now, Maddie, if you combine the very beginning of the show along with Cardi B, along with this match, it basically took up the entire first hour of the PLE. I mean, legitimately took up the entire first hour. And so you look at the rest of the 5 matches, and I think the PLE ended roughly 2.5 hours after that. So you had the other 5 matches to squeeze into there, plus all the extracurriculars that wasn't even a part of the card, and Seth Rollins, in which, of course, we'll get to. But with this match, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. First off, whoever came up with Tribal Thief and Shula Fala, that person deserves a raise first and
Oh,
foremost. I wouldn't put it past it being Paul Heyman to come up with that, but absolutely brilliant. Love that. But this match, Maddie, they gave Jey Uso the full spectrum entrance, like all the way from wherever the hell he was at in the stadium. They let him do his thing, right? Roman Reigns, full-fledged entrance with him as well. So you combine those two, that's probably like a good 10 minutes right there on its own. Yeah, man, this match I thought was pretty entertaining. It was not the outcome I think that either of us saw. Entertaining, a little bit long for my taste, but overall, an interesting outcome when you consider on Monday night, it looks like, maybe Roman Reigns is going to be away for again for an extended period of time.
Yeah, and I think, it was long, but I think the crowd was involved. I think it was a fun match. It was just when you take everything that goes with it on top of it, it's a lot. So it did feel long, but I think they did a really good job of, showcasing Roman Reigns. Braun Breaker was protected. You even had a moment where, Roman saves Jey Uso, and I thought that was something we haven't ever really seen that, it's always been the other way around.
Right.
So things like that were really cool. And then, I just think this match made sense for this storyline, and now it's going to be kind of nice to see Roman and Jey go their separate ways. I don't think we really need to see them paired together that much.
It's kind of like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, right? Like we've seen it plenty. We don't really necessarily need to see it again, but I do like the fact that you brought up Roman Reigns, sacrificing himself for the betterment of the team. We've always seen that with Jey Uso for his tribal chief and things like that. You get the inverse. They brought it up on commentary. Thought it was a very good job of that. Bronson Reed hit some big spots. I think he is, but between taking Roman's shoes, which, a lot of people are saying that's like the utmost disrespect in a lot of ways. So taking his shoes, doing the shoe of all of this stuff. Braun Breaker clearly still the star of the two,
right?
But I think Bronson Reed, I think his stock is up from this match. I think his stock is up from just like the weekend as a whole.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the best things that came out of this Seth Rollins injury angle was we got to see these other two studs step up. And like you said, Breaker's on another level. We've known that. But to see the way they're positioning, Reed with the shoe, with the angle, with Roman, which is huge, for anybody to get that. But I think he connects so well in that big, massive heel and everything they're doing with it. I think it's perfect right now. Just slow build it. Keep it up. And like I said, he has plenty of room to grow.
Right. And if one good thing is going to come away from a Roman Reigns being off TV, it's that Bronson Reed should wear those shoes the entire time around his neck. Every time you see him, he should have them. A reminder that he is somebody that went out there and destroyed Roman Reigns. And eventually, he could find himself in a program with Roman Reigns. And if that's the case, I don't hate it that Reigns is maybe... I would like the consistency, but if that's where they're going with it, okay, I can get behind that. Make a new star, I'm in.
Yeah, just even if you're not the main guy, it's almost like the Batista effect. You're circling the planet of all these big time studs. You're always involved in a storyline. Whether you saw it with Evolution, whether it was Batista with Ric Flair going against Rock and Sock, and it's kind of now we're in this same stage where you're not the main event, but shit, man, you're getting put on open SummerSlam against Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Leveling up, my guy.
Yeah, the opening match, I hope people know that's not a slight. That's an important spot. Like, you are setting the tone for the entire night. And I think overall, to your point, it was long, but the fans were in it the whole time. So no real knock on the match there. Let's talk about a match that maybe went a little long, and I don't know, I guess it still kind of had the fans invested, but the other tag team match here, or one of the two other tag team matches on this night, Randy Orton and Jelly Roll versus Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. And as I say this and bring this match up, Maddie, I will just first and foremost say, brother, we took it on the chin Saturday night in terms of predictions. It was maybe the worst night of predictions we've had since Wrestle Matts has started. So You win some, you lose some, man. We thought Jelly and Randy were certainly taking this match. Turns out to be Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. Man, the more I see a Logan Paul, the more I'm impressed, dude. The more I'm so impressed with Logan Paul. I thought he carried this match. Thought he was fantastic. Let's start there with Logan Paul.
Dude, he is light years ahead of where you hear everybody say it, of where he should be as a performer. It is nuts. This guy is a freak athlete. He is a performer at the most level. To me, dude, this is just, I mean, how often do you get a match where you have Randy Orton, Logan Paul, and Drew McIntyre surrounding Jelly Roll? I mean, shit, this was, I mean, it was what it was, but yeah, dude, all three of these guys, like, these are legends.
Yeah. I mean, dude, working with Drew, working with Randy, he's in a really good spot. He's going to be featured at whatever major PLE there is. I think we should just expect that going forward. I thought Drew was fine in his role. Good to see that he made it back from Scotland, apparently. Randy, completely fine in his role as well, trying to, I think, be the little bit of the big brother mentor to Jelly Roll, save him in some places, carry the match on his own as well after Logan hits the table spot that you see there in the upper right-hand corner if you're watching along with us, which was an absolutely insane spot. But I think this match was fine for what it was. I think the time is fine for what it was. I think they showcased who they needed to showcase. I don't need another Jelly Roll match, but it wasn't the worst thing to ever grace WWE television by any stretch of the imagination. And quite honestly, the fans were behind him. So I'm really way more okay with it than I think a lot of people were maybe going into this weekend.
Well, and he was kind of in a tough spot with three of the best, you know what I mean? And he came in there, he didn't embarrass himself. Like, we've seen how many celebrities come in there and lose? Probably zero. I don't remember a celebrity losing a primetime match like this. So to me, like, for being a celebrity, I think he did a good job. I don't think nobody can get to that Bad Bunny level, but I'd say for, a celebrity, he's probably up there as like somebody who can go, like, especially for his first match ever.
Dude, I think he came in there with zero ego in the fact that he was willing to take the pin. Dude, he took the bump from Logan Paul. There's not many celebrities that are going to sign up to take that spot. He takes that spot. He took a number of other spots, in this match. He did okay with the medical team taking him back and kind of getting the crowd hyped for coming back into the ring. So I really had no problem with this match overall. Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's Championship. Maddie, do you have the time on this one by chance?
Oh my God, I do. Let me get to it.
It can't be more than 10 minutes, can it?
Fucking gross. I don't think it was 7-minute match. My God.
Yeah.
That was my first comment was, my God. This is just, dude, this was not what I expected. I think this kind of showed us that maybe there's a real connect between Lance and Cargill.
Sorry, can you say one more time? You cut out for just a second there. Did you say a disconnect between the fans and Jade?
Jade, like, man, she's improved, but there is something serious, like, something's got to change with this character.
So she hasn't given a ton of real depth, I don't think, to the character. It's just been that, she has this great physique. She's imposing. Her first professional wrestling match was televised, that sort of thing. She's been with kind of the best of the best and Bianca and Naomi and things like that. So she's been in all these high profile stories. She goes out and wins Queen of the Ring, but then to only have a 7-minute match against the women's world champion on one of the biggest stages of WWE's year, I felt it a little bit last week in thinking I don't think WWE is quite ready, and I went against my gut in picking Jade because I think that was just kind of the overwhelming sentiment from fans. But deep down, something was just like nagging me in the back of my head. I'm like, man, I don't think they're ready for Jade to take it. And she didn't.
Yeah, well, and that's the issue. She's got the physique. That's what got her in the door. She looks the part. But like we said, her in-ring work, it's a step behind. There's no connection with the fans. And like you said, we don't know who Jade Cargill is. All we hear is a storm is coming. A storm is coming. So there's no depth to this. I mean, she's the same person she walked in the door as. So there's just nothing. I mean, what are we pushing? That's what the fans, they don't see. We don't see anything. We just see a body. So to me, it's just like, shit, man. Like, where is this going with her? I don't know.
Well, the crazy part is she had so much momentum from the Naomi angle, the Naomi and Bianca angle. And then they did what they did with Naomi, but they never wrapped back around to Bianca, and they just pushed her on to Tiffy. And I get it that maybe Bianca's hurt or whatnot, but you can still have Bianca TV. You can still be building tension. You can still be doing all these different things. But this match in particular, we've kind of noted that Tiffy's run as women's champion, it's gotten a little stale over the last couple of months. Don't think this one did it any favors.
Well, and what was weird is, I don't know if you heard Michael Cole with an interesting stat while he was going with this match. He said Stratton is 14-0 in 2025. Pretty crazy.
That's crazy.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Well, there was a few of those that Cole dropped in there, just in turn, especially poor Wade Barrett catching strays all weekend about not winning particular matches. But yeah, this one it didn't do Jade any favors. It doesn't seem like she's a serious threat. I mean, she did have the one, false finish there where Tiffy was just too close to the ropes and grabs it, but.
Right.
A 7-minute match, man. It just doesn't do anybody any favors, in my opinion. So for me, this is one of the bigger letdowns of the weekend.
This goes right hand in hand with Sammy and, Cross right there.
Yep.
You expect more out of these two matches. Like, if not blown away, I want to see improvements. I want to see something. And I felt like this, like you said, another letdown.
Yep. All right. Let's go on to another championship that ended up changing hands. That is the women's WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez representing the Judgment Day coming in as champions, dropping those titles to Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, this newly formed tag team, Maddie, that we have been a pretty big fan of. I think the fans are pretty well behind Alexa and Charlotte. We saw it in the rematch, which I was surprised that we already got on Monday Night Raw as well, but keeping it here on SummerSlam, everybody fully behind Alexa and Charlotte. I don't think it hurts, Perez and Rodriguez in any particular fashion. In fact, I think it just builds a little bit of anticipation for Liv Morgan and her return and things like that. But let's focus on Alexa and Charlotte. What do you think about their chemistry in the ring? What did you think about the spots where, Alexa accidentally hits Charlotte, and then Charlotte kind of gives her that look before the end of the match, but ends up helping her out anyway?
Yeah, and I think, this is another one of those of, we needed to find where these two were going. They were kind of lost. You have Bliss. Is she a member of Wyatt 6? What's going on there? Nothing. And then Charlotte's kind of getting, I wouldn't say, just, it was almost like people were tired of seeing her at the top of the card. So we needed some kind of identity for both of these. And I think this was perfect. This is what the direction we needed. I don't think we needed a Bliss Flair match. I think them being together was a great booking by the WWE because, like you said, you still have Roxanne, Raquel. They're part of a faction. They have Liv Morgan. They can still feud with these two like we saw on Raw. So there's so much, I think, depth to this, and I think it's going to be beneficial for both. And this match, storytelling 101, getting the big boot, saving her with the big boot after Bliss accidentally hits Flair. It was perfect storyline. It just adds levels and layers, and that's what you want to see in a match, even with these kind of superstars.
Charlotte is getting maybe the best reactions that she has gotten in years and years. So I think alone, this is doing wonders for Charlotte. Once we saw Alexa come back at Royal Rumble, you immediately knew she was over and a fan favorite. There was no doubt after that pop. She's carrying that momentum quite well. And then you got this playfulness that's carrying over all the way to Monday Night Raw, right? It's a little bit Team Hell No in a way. Like you're
Oh,
waiting
good
on
one.
them to really like embrace and become besties, and like they're on the cusp, right? But they're gonna drag it out just a little
Yeah.
bit, and they're keeping that big sister, little sister energy. So I think it's gonna be a fun one to play out. I think you'll start to see them gel as a little bit more of a tag team. The only thing that I would ask or hope maybe gets cut out, because I just don't, some of these gymnastics type moves, and this isn't a knock on Charlotte because she is uber athletic, but the cartwheel into the clothesline, it just takes a minute. Like it seems like her opponent should just catch her mid cartwheel sort of thing. That's, poking holes and little things throughout, her and her performance. But overall, thought it was clutch. Think they're a fun tag team. I'm happy to see more.
Yeah, predictable, but definitely the right call. I think. I mean, we've chanted about these two for the past couple of weeks, and this is something WWE's definitely gotten right.
Let's go from the predictable to the unpredictable. Gunther and CM Punk starts out predictable. We'll get to the unpredictable by the time we get to the end of this thing. And I think the unpredictable maybe saved night one in a lot of ways. So Gunther and CM Punk, man, Gunther coming in as this big, imposing champion. You heard Cole on commentary. He's been a champion more than 80% of his days on the roster, which is just absolutely insane. A complete different level of dominance from Gunther. He looked dominant throughout the match, too. Punk was just able to find his places and then capitalize when he really needed to capitalize. But let's break it down here as CM Punk briefly becomes your new WWE World Champion. And the match itself, if it would have just ended, if the PLE ends there, I'm happy. It was a great match. Punk's your champion. We've got intrigue. It would have went down on its face, an instant classic, kind of like the way John Cena and Daniel Bryan did that we reviewed as part of our SummerSlam Rewind series.
Dude, this was everything you want as a wrestling fan. This is just 30 minutes, didn't have to go 400 miles an hour. This was a classic wrestling match, and it showed a lot to me. It showed me that Punk can still go with the best of them. And it showed me just moves being pulled out. There was, Gunther's bleeding. How much did that add to the moment? Just everything about it, man. Like, this was a classic, like you said, but it was a layered story, and it worked with submissions like the Boston. When was the last time you saw the Boston Crab used, or a triangle submission? So many different things that, like, I mean, if you're a wrestling purist, a fan, you love this.
Yeah, it was a throwback in a lot of ways, this match on its face. So I loved it. I enjoyed it. Again, if it ends right there and that's the end of the PLE, then I'm like, great. It was good. You got the moment there with Punk in the top right hand of the screen, holding the belt, clutching I mean, it looked like he just was welling up with tears, just completely overwhelmed, which only made the actual end of the PLE that much better. And this, I think, is I don't want to just like skip over Gunther and Punk like it wasn't just, a great classic SummerSlam match that I think we're going to be revisiting for years to come. But it does kind of live in the shadows as to what happened next. I think, Maddie, this is a topic that I want to talk about a little bit more in depth with Seth Rollins here and how this all comes together. And can we do this again? Can we expect this from WWE? Was it good? Was it bad? The moment itself, there's no doubt about it. That was fantastic. Everybody was in on it. It rivals, I would argue, his WrestleMania 31 cash in from an excitement and surprise perspective. The question I want to start with first, though, Maddie, with with Seth's injury being a work, should WWE utilize work injuries the way that they did? Because you and I talked about it immediately, because I was at Saturday Night Main Event and I'm like, oh man, Seth, legit looks like it hurt his knee. The way they ended the match, Seth goes out in crutches. He's seen it in public in crutches. He's on Rich Eisen in crutches and, selling it this whole time. Can WWE keep trust with fans when things like that happen?
I think this is all entertainment. and that's what I take it as.
Okay.
You know, if they got one over on me, it's not the end all be all. To me, it just
Sure.
added to the drama, and I'm all for it. I mean, we've seen, people fake injuries in the past, and it worked. We've seen Shawn Michaels fake a knee injury and pin, I think it was Batista or Chris Jericho at like a No Way Out or something. So it's been done before, not at this length. To me, it doesn't bother me one bit. Like, I love just the aspect of storyline and drama. To me, it's a soap opera, man. So just sit back and enjoy that aspect of it.
Okay. I can see that. I can appreciate that. I do think with the level that Seth went to with everything, which apparently his daughter almost blew his cover the first day,
Right.
the first day at preschool. But I do think this is a little bit more of a like use it as a one-off, because if you start kind of letting that snowball, right, and it's used repetitively, kind of like the spear barricade spot, right? That I think is something in WWE that's lost all of its impact. I don't care about that move anymore. I don't care to see it.
Yeah.
So in the same breath, right? You can't have somebody, faking a serious injury, a match being stopped short. And additionally, there is just the conversation of like, once folks are gone, sometimes we don't always know the reason why and what's behind it and what they're going through and their recovery process. And fans do react to that sort of thing. It happened on a different scale, but it happened with Raquel Rodriguez, and nobody really understood like the skin condition and everything that she was going through and this and that. And she's doing everything she can to be back, not to her own fault. You know what I mean? And she's probably just trying to like live life a day at a time. So that's the only thing I'll say about it. But the moment itself, dude, I don't think you could have scripted it any better in terms of Seth coming out, still hobbling, walking away, tossing the crutches. Of course, as soon as he tosses the crutches, the gig is the jig is up, and then it's just all systems go from there.
Dude, and it just keeps showing us why we keep going back to how Rollins is on another level. Even Triple H said other people are playing checkers, he's playing chess. This guy is just, to me, he's the Shawn Michaels in the ring, but his promos, everything, he's the total package. And that's what kind of just, separates the guy. Like, you don't need to see him wrestle. He's so good at telling stories that we're in the era of Rollins right now, and I'm loving it. And real quick to your injury, like, I definitely see that. I see the point of, we already hear people, is it real? Is it fake? Like, so I get that argument.
Right. A little bit of that, yeah.
You don't want people going up to Roman Williams, hey, I heard you fake cancer because you're wrestling.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Or Owen Hart died. That's fake, right? Like, shits could get real. But to your point, like, if done properly, it's magical. Like SummerSlam Night 1, the end of SummerSlam Night 1 was the ultimate climax of not only Rollins, of the story with him and Punk, with Gunther, just everything just gelled perfectly. And I don't think it would have had that effect if he wouldn't have faked that injury. So to me, just kudos to WWE for just the shock value and the surprises we've had in the last couple of years. Iconic on another level.
This is my favorite outcome outside of him cashing it in on Cena during his last match. That would have been my top vote. I mentioned that way long ago from the time that he basically won it. And this, I think, played out as beautifully as you could have hoped for, with the crutches from the time that he runs down to the ring, takes the brace off, runs down to the ring. Paul is kind of in chase a little bit, trying to keep up with Seth down the ramp, which just cracked me up even more. But I liked the brutality, too, that Seth took once he got in the ring. He just started going to town, with the briefcase on Punk.
Elbows,
like he was elbows, the full thing. Like he was full on going to take advantage. They weren't going to, let Punk get ready. By the time Jessica Carr rang the bell, Punk, I think, was just at his knees, right? And then Seth hits the stomp, and it's 1, 2, 3, game over. And then, Maddie, to end it as well, you get Seth to take a seat down in the classic CM Punk pose right next to Punk after he was only, at the mountaintop for like 5 minutes. You get it on socials after of Seth bringing back the classic belt swing at the top of the ramp. Man, a billion out of 10. I don't know. I mean, it was fantastic.
Well, as a photographer, dude, how many like
Oh God.
iconic shots were there?
Oh, so
From
many.
like
So many.
when Rollins wins the title, like you said, he's sitting down, he's doing the belt swing, everybody's hands are raised. Just this is the total package in professional wrestling. And we just witnessed, I think this just told us so much about just Gunther, about Punk, about Rollins. Like everybody won from that main event.
Yeah, let's touch just real quickly, and then we will end and wrap up night one before taking a break and moving on to night two. But Maddie, it was said, and I think there was a little bit of information going on about this before the match that maybe Gunther was working a little bit hurt with his nose or something to that effect. So you never really quite know, but you get the spot like you were talking about earlier where he's bleeding a lot. And then Michael Cole confirms on Monday Night Raw that Gunther is going to be out indefinitely. So that leaves a big hole at the top of the card there with Gunther being gone. It leaves a place for somebody to step up. Do you have maybe a prediction of somebody who can maybe fill that role? And then do you think Gunther just slots right back in when he comes back?
Dude, I think this is the perfect time for Gunther to go away because he's so dominant, but he's kind of lost that mystique of being this unbeatable war general. Like that's his gimmick, is just how long he's been champion, everything about it. So to me, I think this is perfect for Gunther to go away a little bit. It's almost like Brock Lesnar coming back. There's, Cena later on down the road. There's a lot of opportunity if you just kind of freshen up Gunther a little bit. And to me, I think it's perfect timing. There's a lot of moving pieces. Let him kind of take some time off our TV screens, and you can bring him back the way he is, or he could come back and just start snapping on people. He's always been composed. And I mean, dude, we might be seeing a babyface Gunther by next year's WrestleMania. You never know.
Babyface Gunther would be wild. I don't even know what that would look like quite yet, but I can tell you when he comes back, he's most certainly going to get a reaction because I think they're going to put him in a position where he comes back and it's going to be against some sort of top level player. So whether that is Seth Rollins, whether that is CM Punk, whether it is Roman Reigns, I think it's going to be interesting no matter what when Gunther comes back to WWE. So couldn't agree more that maybe a little bit of a break here for Gunther is actually going to end up boosting his stock when he comes back and creating a little bit more of that mystique and that dominance there for Gunther. All right, Maddie, night one, what do you give it on a scale of 1 to 10?
The main event saved it. So if I could give the main event a 10, I would. The rest of it, maybe a 7, man. I wasn't blown away by night one.
Night one had some good spots. It had some rough spots. It had some entertaining moments, and it had some letdown moments. And I think the pacing is kind of the biggest thing that went askew here on night number one because the bookend matches took up the bulk of the card, and then everything that was kind of sandwiched in between. I think Jelly Roll and Randy, actually, that match went a little bit longer. Actually, both of the tag team matches went a little bit longer. But Sammy and Karrion getting cut a little bit short there. And then certainly Tiffy and Jade, again, not doing either of those ladies any favors whatsoever. So I'm really pretty close to being in the same boat as you. The main event, absolutely a 10. Seth Rollins, 100 out of 10, whatever you want to call it there for that surprise. And then the rest of the card probably falls, to your point, 6-7 range, somewhere in there. It was okay. It wasn't great, a little bit underwhelming in some spots. So I think that's about all you can really give it. All right, Maddie, 10-15 minutes. We will see everybody right back here for night number 2 of SummerSlam.